Good morning and welcome to the new edition of Dr. Lamba's Awakening Call. We have often talked about the farmers' protests in India, which have been raging almost for a month, and they are having repercussions not only in India but also being exploited by some interested parties in the foreign countries like Canada, USA, England, wherever Punjabi diaspora is. Now, herein lies a catch. We call it protest by the Indian farmers. And all the people who are sympathizing with them, promoting them in the foreign countries are Punjabis. So are the Indian protests by a specific party, are a specific region, or a specific religion. When there's too much of confusion, then many questions arise. I would never deny that protests, agitations, peaceful of course, without spoiling the property, are the oxygen of any democratic system. And it's a right of the people to protest. I always used to say that any social setup is like a pressure cooker. And if the steam is not let out, pressure cooker would burst. And that's why I have always advocated that the protests must be allowed unhindered so that the steam that has been built in the people is slowly and steadily released without harming the social setup. Absolutely. I fully agree that the protests are a right of the people, especially in a democratic setup. After all, India is not China, where the protesting students in Tiananmen were just crushed under the tanks and fired at, and hundreds and thousands of them were killed. But the question arises, when the protests become politicalized, even that's acceptable to some extent because politicians always try to create noise, even if there's nothing, for the simple reason that they want to create hurdles for the government so that they can come to the treasury benches in the next election. So there is a reason for them to protest or to support protests. But when the protests of this nature are there, which can disturb the socio-economic system, then there is something to be thought about. So my first question was, is it a national protest or is it a provincial protest? Apparently, by the reactions we see in foreign countries, it's a regional protest. For example, in one of the province states in USA, one a representative said, "My Punjabi constituents." In Canada, the Prime Minister, the Defense Minister, the Minister of Economic Development, and the leader of opposition, as well as both opposition rather, the two of all of them have said the Punjabi protests are to be taken care of. Now, so if this is a Punjabi protest, then it's not a national protest. Any region can have protests. But the organizers say that they are national protests, and with that attitude in mind, they bring in some farmers from Gujarat. I heard that 500 people are coming from there, some people from Maharashtra, some from Bihar. But have you seen that there's not a single farmer from South India? And as you go down from Punjab downwards towards south and east, the desire or the penchant or the attraction for this protest slowly and steadily decreases. Of course, it's very easy when you are politicalized to bring in some people from different states. And that's what's happening. If there are tens and thousands of the people from Punjab and 500 people come from Gujarat or 20 people come from Maharashtra, that doesn't change the basic factor that it's a Punjabi protest. Now comes to the second part. After having seen that it's degenerated into a regional protest, even that's okay. There can be one part of the country, one province, one state, where the people feel that they have been slighted, that they have been put in the harm's way. So what's harm in that? But when it degenerates into religious fight, when you try to give it a religious color, then the secular structure, or I won't call it secular because secular word has diverse dimensions. I would use a multicultural, multiracial, multi-religious system that is affected. If you have seen the protests, the most popular slogan is the Sikh war cry, Bole so Nihal Sat Sri Akal. This is a war cry which has been used by Sikhs whenever they have gone for war, whether they were wars against the Mughals, whether they were riots, whether they were the First World War, Second World War, Kargil War, war with China, war anywhere. This is a battle cry of Sikhs which reinvigorates them. And when I hear this slogan being raised, then I have a feeling of ants crawling up my stomach. That why should a protest which is supposed to be purely economic in nature be given a religious coloring? Now, add to that, apart from this sloganeering, which is, as I said, the war cry of Sikhs, have you seen that the money which is coming is from WSO and other organizations, Khalsa Aid, World Sikh Organization, Sikhs for Justice, they are sending the money, and that's why when these Kisan Sabhas accept the money, they are violating the law. Foreign Exchange Regulation Act very clearly states that you have to be registered to receive money from abroad. And these organizations have been receiving money, and now just recently they were asked by the government to explain how the money is coming without their getting themselves registered, because foreign money simply cannot come. It can be a drug money. If you remember, a couple of weeks back, there was distribution of turbans, and the gentleman who was distributing the turbans, I saw it on the television, on the social media. He said, well, Sikhs are fighting and the turbans have got dirty, so we have got to give them the turbans, and I've brought thousands of turbans. So that the Sikh sign or symbol is not desecrated. Then, another thing which is amazing is the promoters themselves say that they have created a channel, and the line in that is a question of the pride of Punjabis. And Punjabis are requested to share that channel, which is called Kisan Ekta Morcha. So this protest is degenerating into a regional fight, a religious fight, a fight where illegal laundering of money is possible, where foreign exchange rules are being violated. And another thing, the leading farmers groups are playing a big role in the protest, and they are accepting foreign funds without proper clearance. There's a BKU, Bharatiya Kisan Union, the Indian Farmers Union, which is the largest and the most dominant in Punjab. It has a huge followers base. They have been issued a warning by the bank and told to get the mandatory registration. They have already received up to 9 lakhs in 2 months. How much they received earlier? And the plea taken is money sent by Punjabis living abroad who donate for the social cause. So if they're donating, why not get it registered? So we have seen that it's not one protest, it's a multitude of interests which are coming in. Now, coming to the protest itself, the major demand is the MSP. As I've discussed earlier in my comments and in my articles, MSP is only for two items basically, rice and wheat. And I can agree, yes, MSP should be there for the simple reason all the countries in the world, even US and Canada, subsidize agriculture. But then why only on those two items? I should be on every item. But there's a caveat. MSP, as I said, differs from state to state. And it is up to each state to levy MSP. What the government of India can do is issue an order to the states to fix MSP for all the cereals and even the vegetables. You have seen how the onion prices go up. And that government has agreed to do. So that one major hassle has been removed. The second is the fear that the corporates will take over the land, and the names being given are Adani and Ambani. Now let's imagine. Have you ever seen that these not national but big companies, okay, let's call them, they are none of them is multinational, would go in for that sort of a thing while they can get their raw material directly at a competitive price? Why should they go and start from the scratch? It's like saying that, okay, I'm setting up a power plant. I need coal. I'm setting up a thermal plant. So what I should do is I should go first have a coal mine, start mining coal, then transport the coal to my unit. Coal is in Bihar. So I set up by the mines in Bihar or Jharkhand, bring the coal to Maharashtra or to Gujarat, produce and generate electricity and then sell it. The cost of bringing that coal and operating the mines would be much more than the profit I'll have from the generation of electricity. There's always a vendor development, and the farmers are basically going to be the vendors, and vendors can always have ironclad agreement that they will sell at this price or they will not sell it. Then the pleas taken that they have built big storage godowns and they may refuse to buy. Government of India had big storage grounds, and today FCI has more than 2 to 3 years of the food grains lying in stock. So can't the FCI refuse to do that? It's a commercial organization. Secondly, profitability wise, already the farmer has, when he sells to the kacha artiya. Kacha artiya sells to the pakka artiya. Pakka artiya sells it to the in the market. Then the market, from there the wholesaler buys it, wholesaler sells to the retailer. So there are five ladders. When the corporates come, three ladders will be reduced, and farmer can ask for a higher price. They can say, okay, the three ladders, the steep three steps from the ladder have been removed. So let the margin going to the three steps be divided between the producer and the buyer. Fair enough. So all that plea of the corporatization of agriculture is a hogwash. And one thing government can do, and which government has assured to do, that they can come down very heavily and say under no circumstance the land of the farmer be attacked. This would need an amendment in the Indian Contract Act. And if that can be done, and that can be done, government should admit it. There's no harm in putting that up, protecting the interests of the farmers. But I am talking of the real farmers. I'm not talking of the pseudo farmers who are donning the protesters' garb under their ulterior purposes of promoting regional division or religious divide. So these protests are basically a political handle to beat the Modi government. And all the parties, mostly communists, are dominating the Kisan Sabhas, held by the Congress and the other opposition parties, who want to create hurdles for the Modi because they are afraid that he has won two elections and the way he is going, he would win next two elections. And another thing, yes, the international accolades that he's getting. Only yesterday evening, President Trump honored it with the highest civilian honor of the United States. He got earlier the highest civilian honor from Qatar, from Saudi Arabia, from Japan, from Vietnam, from Korea, and so on and so forth. So all that is creating a heartburn in the opposition leaders. So this protest has come as a shot in the arm for the opposition parties. But looking at the national aspect, the people should understand, the opposition should understand that can be a double-edged weapon. The Congress, for example, forgets that it is the Congress itself which initiated this law. It was in 1970s, or rather 65 onwards, when the APMs were produced, the Swaminathan Committee was set up, which recommended these laws as a next step. It's another thing that the Congress faltered and did not do it. As a matter of fact, if I was a leader of the Congress party, I'll take credit that Modi is stealing my ideas. And that would give them a greater credence. But then they are suffering from myopia, short sightedness. They are ignoring the national interest. And they are, in fact, stoking parochialism, religious divide, regionalism. And that's not in the national interest. And that's not in the interest of the farmers. As a matter of fact, these laws are a change, but change for the better. And what the government is proposing to okay the old system would not be negated. Rather, the farmers now would have two streams, the old stream and the new streams. Let the farmer choose a new stream or the old stream as they deem fit. Why agitate? The protests are today after the new proposals of the government accepting almost all demands except one, there's a repeal of the laws, needs the protest to be folded up. And then another thing, Supreme Court in its direction had told the Attorney General that till the decision is ripe, the new laws shall not be operational. Let the government accept that and say, okay, the laws will be operational only when they are notified by the Gazette, which is one of the systems Indian Constitution provides. There are two ways the laws can be implemented. One is as soon as the president signs, it becomes a law. The second one is that the law, when it's signed, becomes a law, but is not operational. It becomes operational when it's notified in the Gazette of India. Gazette Extraordinary is published. So the government can say, okay, accept it. We will not implement the law. We'll put in the cold storage till such time farmers are satisfied and the old stream is working, and then we will bring it in after due consideration, after proper notification. But as such, as it is now, the protests are absolutely uncalled for, unwarranted, and the sooner they fold up, the better it shall be for them and for the nation and for all of people in India and those people who have some interest in India but are living abroad. Thank you.